How you doing?
Probably, yeah. Working while taking time off, yeah, you know how it is.
Working in a different way.
Right, exactly, yes, yes, maybe several. Depending.
I did see the head.
Yeah, right, tell me about it.
If you want to, I'm happy to cover it. I talked to you this morning, so I can just see where we're at right now. If she wants.
Yeah, but not very well. I gathered, this whole thing about the.
Why doesn't she want me?
She tore her meniscus and
Yes.
tendon.
Correct, the next time, yeah.
Yeah. Which. So.
I think it
So
could be.
we saw
It's certainly on the
Steve
lines.
July, and she had, she was just out with.
She wanted to walk on that.
She wanted to, that we had to scramble, she didn't think she would.
My bad.
Very last minute.
Well, you can build a relationship there.
Golf carts.
Well, that comes like it's there, it's like. There's one.
Days ago, we would have had.
They don't.
Oh, checking. I could just keep it.
Very right.
We had 2 great options soon.
Yeah, but that'll be the, right, that'll be the moment that law for somebody that usually happens to look. He's on team. I thought he was away. Right, that's right. The dreaded three words.
And I actually braved it and they said. that they forgot.
Who knows? Anyway, okay.
Okay.
All right, I think we'll get started. We're waiting for a few more people, but thank you for being here again. So this is the quarterly meeting of the Commission on America 250, the semi-quincentennial of America, which we will celebrate in July of 2026, the signing of the Declaration of Independence. I am Denise Merrill, former Secretary of the State of Connecticut. I am the chair of the commission, and I'm joined by my co-chair or vice chair, Jason Mancini of the Connecticut Humanities Council. That is the group that is administering this commission. And we're very excited. We're really getting down there now. It's about 2 years away. We've had lots of activity in the last 6 months, or certainly since we saw you last. And so we'll talk about that a little bit today. But before we do that, there's a few pieces of business. I wanted to welcome, there's 2 new members of the commission. One is Melvette Hill, who is not with us today, but she's from the Legislative Commission on Women, Children, Seniors, etc. But we are joined by Michael Werner, who is here today as her designee. So welcome, Michael. And I know you've been following this already, so not exactly new to you. If you wanted to say a few words.
No, just happy to be continuing in this work. Milvet has been appointed as the new director of our commission, and we share a passion for civic engagement, and just delighted to be continuing forward with everyone.
Thanks, and thanks for joining us. And Margaret Kahn from the Connecticut Library Association, who is
She's not.
Unable to join us.
unable to join us. Okay, so she is the new member from the Connecticut Library Association, taking the place of Doug Lord. She is the new chair, I guess, or president, whatever, from the Connecticut Library Association. So I just wanted to update you on something that I did in the last few months, and that was on July 4th, actually July 5th. I was asked to read the Declaration of Independence at the Beinecke Library at Yale University.
Wow.
They do this every year. It is an annual event, and this first time I had attended. So I brought my 3 granddaughters and my daughter along with me. The 3 granddaughters were easily the youngest people in the room, but there were about 250 people there to listen to the reading of the Declaration. And of course, Yale being Yale, they have one of the original copies of the Declaration at the Beinecke Library. So I was quite honored. So I read the Declaration, and it's been a long time since I read the whole thing. And it's full of, as you may remember, their grievances against King George III. And so I read the long list of grievances. I was afraid my granddaughters were going to be very bored. They were not. They were riveted. And I thought that would be the end of it, but no, there were 4 more speeches after that that were read very solemnly. One was, the first one was Frederick Douglass's famous rebuttal to the Declaration, where he said, and I quote, "What to the slave is the 4th of July?" And he follows by saying, this hasn't really solved a big problem. We're not included in this. And then came a woman who read the Declaration of Sentiments from the Seneca Falls Convention in 1848, where women declared that, and they riffed off of the Declaration and came up with a statement that started by saying all men and women are created equal. And then proceeded a long list of grievances similar to George III, but this was against men. And then there were 2 more speeches from more colloquial, speeches from people talking again about inclusion. So I think I took that as, it was very interesting, and my granddaughters were absolutely fascinated by all this. And it just shows you that this is our challenge, I think, as a commission, to recognize that it took a civil war and several amendments to the Constitution to try to rectify some of this, but it's a moving body of work. And I think our challenge is to meet that challenge by moving it forward and thinking about what this incredible moment in history, which really rocked the world, we have to remember, at the time, also meant for future generations and what more we can do. So I thought I'd share that with all of you because it was such a moving experience. And the Beinecke Library just shows us again the incredible resources in this state and the incredible place we have in history. So let that be a challenge to you all to remember how important what we're doing really is. Okay, so with that, let's get going. We have a lot to talk about today, and the subcommittees have been working on many different issues, and we'll update you on everything that's been going on. All right, first we have to have, yes. Yes, go ahead. Sorry, Jason. Yeah.
Thanks, Denise. I just want to mention to everybody, we're in a different location today from where we are normally situated at the old State House. We're present here on the Mashantucket Pequot Reservation, which is the oldest continuously occupied reservation on this continent, created in 1666. Pequots and their ancestors have been here for 13,000 years at least. And I think it's a suitable place to sort of think about those inclusive themes, certainly as the Pequots and their ancestors have served in every American war since the creation of, since the foundation of the United States. Many died in the service of the American cause during the American Revolution. So I think it's an important recognition of our presence here. There are exhibits in the museum that touch on Pequot service and Indigenous service. So thank you.
Oh, yeah. And if I could add to that, right after this meeting, there's an opportunity to tour the museum. I have not been here before, so I'm planning to go along, but please take advantage of it. Anyone here at the meeting or any onlookers, I think it would be a great experience. And a thank you to Rodney Butler and the tribe for allowing us to have our meeting here today. It's a spectacular facility. And I know Jason has been very much involved with this facility over many years. So thank you, Jason, for getting us here today. Okay, now we'll move forward. Approval of minutes from April 17th, 2024 should have been in your packet. Does anyone have any inclusions, changes, comments? If not, I would entertain a vote to approve. A motion? Okay, thanks. Second, anybody?
Second.
Okay, thanks. All in favor of approval of minutes from the April 17th meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Okay, and you're abstaining, you were probably not here, right? Oh, you weren't appointed yet, you're right. Okay, anybody else? Abstentions? So one, so noted. Okay, any nay votes? No? All right, so it is approved. All right, we're going to go now to a national and regional update. Both Cindy and Jason attended a meeting, I believe, in Virginia of the National Commission and some other states. And so we'll now see what they found out at that day. It is a very national celebration, so I'm anxious to hear what's going on nationally.
Yeah, so Cindy and I both attended the state and territorial convening in Washington, D.C. Last week, July 9th through 11th, where 43 state and territorial councils, or commissions rather, were present and participating. This was sort of a broad overview in convening on behalf of the National 250th Commission, which is different from our earlier engagements with the Common Cause for All at Williamsburg, Virginia. So this is the first of the national convening with the National Commission. We learned a bit about their current initiatives. They provided information on public sentiment and the broad interest around the 250th as we approach less now than 2 years. One thing I'll just mention, thinking about the future, that Gen Z is broadly disconnected and unconcerned with this moment. So thinking about how we might be considering the younger folks in our communities and how to engage them in this moment, especially as we're looking to have an impact on our future citizens. As well, I want to mention some of the conversations in addition to the 43 commission updates. Was a conversation on the tourism impact from Lieutenant Governor of Massachusetts, Kim Driscoll, which was quite inspiring in terms of how they engaged this moment through the lens of tourism. I want to mention as well, something that resonated with me is the theme or the tent pole for the National Commission around America Gives. So Days of Giving through volunteerism, donation of money, military service, and then there are days of service connected to that, including September 11th and Martin Luther King Day. We're thinking about other ways of engaging Connecticut's public. We also have, just more specific to Connecticut, a second place winner for America's Field Trip competition, which was held or hosted by the National Commission. A young woman from Fairfield, I believe, Jane C. Is how she's identified. So we're very happy to see Connecticut's engagement with that, and there will be more opportunities to participate in America's Field Trip. Cindy, if you want to add anything I might have missed.
I'll add a little bit to America's Field Trip, which is we should be receiving in the next few weeks all of the entries from Connecticut. So when we do receive those, we'll share them with the commission and brainstorm some ways that we might spread those more broadly. Additionally, we did receive some funding updates from the National Commission as well. They're starting a funding directory where they plan to share specific projects from each of the states and share it with national funders and also organizations that are responsible for national funding, such as Fidelity Charitable, which is really exciting. And it shows kind of the olive branch that I would say they're extending out to the state commissions. We had some reservations a year ago when we discussed signing on with them around the relationship between the national and state commissions. And I think they're actively working to improve that and really include us as partners in this process, which was one of the big takeaways from this gathering. I will mention, and I will leave it up to Denise and Jason whether we want to discuss it today. They are still willing to entertain the idea of signing on for that $10,000 grant. And that is available until funds are completed. So that's the only other big takeaways.
Could you just quickly explain what the America's Field Trip is?
Yeah, so they asked students from across the country to answer the question, what does America mean to you? And so students could submit artwork, essays, or videos. Jane from Connecticut submitted a video that we've shared out on the commission social media. But there were many we got to see during lunch a reel of some of the
Oh,
videos and
I've
essays. and
definitely seen
artwork.
it. I think you took it out of his backpack. Maybe, is it on the table?
Oh. Yeah, so
Thanks.
And just to put a bow on the national convenings, we are looking forward to an upcoming convening in Pennsylvania in September. And of course, next, I think a final round in Virginia next March. Cindy and I will attend the convening in Pennsylvania and hopefully along with Anthony from statewide tourism and marketing.
Can I just ask, I'm curious if there was conversation about why Gen Z is particularly disconnected? Is it lack of information and knowledge? Is it too much coming at them at once? Or we don't know.
I don't think we got into the interpretation of the data. It was more of a presentation of the data. But I think across category, we can share the slides out certainly from that.
yeah, we haven't received them yet, but as soon as we receive them, we are allowed to share those out. I have terrible photographs, but they've promised to send a PDF.
It was a broad takeaway across categories where most other demographics were generally enthusiastic and at least looking forward to participating in something to do with the 250th, but Gen Z just sort of seemed disconnected.
The one thing they did remark is that across all generations and across the country, when you put the 250th in line with both looking back at 1776 and looking forward and hopes for the nation and really thinking how we can improve the nation across the board, everybody, left or right leaning, different ages all over the nation, we're much more excited by the prospect of the 250th.
It's a good question too. Yeah, I'd be very curious to see what data they used, whether it was lack of information or lack of education or just a lack of enthusiasm, I think would be the question.
Yeah. It's something we'll be definitely looking into
Yeah.
and exploring with other commissions as well as the National Commission and other national gatherings.
Okay, anyone else?
We've got Scott, who's going to provide some updates from AASLH.
Good morning, everyone. We'll provide a few quick updates here. The American Association for State and Local History, which I'm the secretary, is continuing to take a national leadership role in providing materials. And I want to give a couple updates, and I'll share my screen, and I will put the links to all of these in the chat as well. AASLH has a resource page where they are continuing to build out resources for organizations and communities and state commissions participating in the commemoration and celebration of the semi-quincentennial. So I will put the link to that in the chat. They have also recently launched the new programming handbook. We'll click on that for you here. It is a program that was developed about a year ago and finished and launched just in time for the 4th of July this year. It has an online version, which I will just flip through quickly, and also a hard copy version of which we have ordered copies to be here in the state, and we'll be distributing them in the coming months. I was on the advisory committee that helped create this and advise on it. It aligns with the AASLH field guide and their themes, of which our state commission themes are also aligned. And it has programming ideas that are low cost and high impact, things that places might not even necessarily need to create new programs, but can adapt their existing programs to tie into the national semi-quincentennial themes, grouped around youth programs, how communities can do history, reimagining exhibits, or things like civic engagement. So we will share that with you all in hard copy when we get those copies into Connecticut. And I will put the link, as I said, in the share here in a second. And the last thing I'll say is AASLH continues to do annual updates on the state of the nation here. I'll put that summary in the chat as well. I think that the biggest takeaway there is that we're at the point that we have 48 state and territorial commissions that have been formed across the country. So we're still not at 100% yet, but definitely a lot closer than before. I'll continue to work with ASLH and share updates to us in Connecticut. I will be going along with Jason and Cindy to their annual conference in Mobile, which is in September, and they will have time for us on the Saturday of that meeting to meet with all our state commissions and some other opportunities for us to get content and share content with our peers from across the country. Happy to entertain any questions, but I will put these links as promised in the chat here in a moment.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott. Okay. So if there are no questions, we'll move on. And
Can I just share, just when, as we're on the topic of national update, that we did have our National Association of Secretaries of State conference last week. So last year's conference, there was a lot of conversation about the 250th. This year, not so much, but a couple of states did mention that because of the conversations last year, their states had started planning and started a commission or something to that effect. So I think more and more states are now, it's now on the radar. And I'm wondering why there wasn't really more conversation about it this year, but maybe for next year, either winter or summer conference might be something to look at. You know, maybe we could even present the idea of having a session around it, or, you know, something to that effect, just to bring more attention to it.
it's a great idea. We actually, someone should do a presentation about activities in the states at NAS. Do you know how many secretaries of state seemed involved in the 250th? I mean, I don't have any sense of that.
I don't know.
I mean, it's a perfect
Yeah,
office to be
yeah.
involved, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'd be I'm former president of NAS, and so I think it would be a great place to make a presentation. So I'll look into it and talk to the NAS people about who among current secretaries might be interested in doing that.
Yeah.
I'm expecting that.
Okay, so if there's nothing further on national issues, thank you for the update. That was very helpful. And I see there are these convenings that you're talking about that are in the fall are the state convenings, not the National Commission, I take it. Is that still the National Commission?
No. So Pennsylvania is convening a gathering in Philadelphia. And then September is the convening in Mobile for the American Association for State and Local History Conference.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So that's their affinity groups. So,
Yeah,
you know,
right.
parts of these organizations have to do with the 250th.
Great. Okay. All right, moving forward, we'll spend a few minutes telling you about a funding update that Jason and I have been very involved with for the last several months as the legislature was in session. So we'll start with the legislative proposals and what happened. And we can get into the detail a little bit, but basically we had a request for funding through the legislature. The governor did not include additional money. This is the mid-year budget now. So this would just be an adjustment to the budget that came forward last year. We did get a small amount of additional funding for administration for the 250th through our request. And there was a bonding request for funds for capital projects as well. And that I think it ended up at $10 million was passed for additional capital funding. And that would be for things like building improvements to sites throughout the state. And so Jason can tell you more about exactly, you know, how that's going to be administered, how that's going to work, how those grants will be sent out. And then I have formed a leadership committee to try to raise some money through corporate donations. Cindy's been great. She put together a wonderful packet. So we are really starting in earnest now to look for private funding through either corporations or individuals. We did get a a sizable donation from the Dalio Foundation 6 months ago or so. And we have several other possibilities of corporate funding. We're having many meetings out there, but if anybody has any ideas to help us out, that would be great. I have a terrific committee, including the former president of UConn, Susan Herbst, Jonathan Harris at Eversource, and Sarah Harris from the Mohegan Tribe. We're planning some fundraisers. There will be a fundraiser in Greenwich in the fall. I think September 4th is the date. If you can come, please come. Bring people, whatever. It will be at the Bruce Museum. And we're in the planning process right now. And Gino Oriemo will be our primary guest speaker, I guess. He's going to be there, and I think that'll create a lot of excitement because people love seeing Gino, and he certainly knows how to get a crowd going. So that's terrific news. We're also talking to the Mohegan Tribe about doing a fundraiser there, and there's some other ones that we're planning along the way. So just so you're aware, there are a lot of fundraising possibilities out there, and we're working hard to get those to happen. Okay, Jason, you want to talk some more about the legislative?
Yeah, just maybe a little bit more detail, and thanks for that, Denise. So in the mid-term budget, we've received an additional $100,000 for this year's administration, so a total of $200,000 for this year that we're putting into action. We'll be leveraging that, as Denise mentioned, through a lot of private fundraising and various other initiatives to get our proposals underway. What had started out as a $35 million bonding package that was approved by the Finance Committee for the 250th and the budget negotiations was reduced to $10 million applied to the Good to Great grant program that's run through a partnership between DECD and Connecticut Humanities. What that is essentially the creation of a line of credit. What we need to do now is work with the governor's office to get it on the bonding agenda, focused on the 250th, so that we can begin this process in earnest. Liz Shapiro and I have been working closely on this to get this in motion, to co-administer this project. And we'll be hopefully providing you a more comprehensive update in the next meeting on what we've been able to accomplish. Outside of that, I do want to mention
The OPM budget book.
yes, but before we get to that, just circling back to broader national funding, the National Commission brought to our attention various semi-quincentennial funding opportunities through the National Park Service, through the Institute of Museum and Library Services. We'll be providing information on the Commission website, and certainly my staff at Connecticut Humanities will be familiar with providing guidance and support and connections to these funding opportunities. I also want to mention, in thinking about the national funding sources and national recognition, there are Smithsonian affiliates in Connecticut. There are National Parks and Trails in Connecticut. Certainly an affiliate of the Library of Congress, Connecticut Humanities has through the Connecticut Center for the Book. But I do want to encourage everybody in the room and everybody online and for the public at large that there are national funding sources that will be either available now or coming online through National Park Service, IMLS, NEH, NEA, and so on. I also want to point at other resources that are available. And Cindy, I'm sorry to go outside of the bounds of our timeline here, but the National Archives and Records Administration has archives that are available, publicly available, that relate to the topic of the 250th. iCivics, which is a partnership that NEH is involved in, and I believe the Department of Education, Educating for American Democracy is another resource that we've posted. So I want to call that out just as other sources of information and content. Back to OPM, we've had some initial conversations with the Office of Policy and Management for the state of Connecticut, in which they want to center the 250th theme for the next biennium's budget book. So it's on their minds as much as it's on ours. And I hope it's a reflection of the state's commitment to funding the 250th in the future.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it means that the budget book will literally have a dedication to the America 250 project as part of the governor's budget announcement. So we'll see where we go with that. Wonderful. It's wonderful news because, I think it really does up the profile of the commission.
Before we move on, I just want to add one thing. In all of your packets, you have some 250th related grants that have been granted out by Connecticut Humanities in the last couple of years. So I encourage folks to look through here, keep an eye out for some of these funded programs. Connecticut Humanities is administering the commission, and with that, we've made it a funding priority. So we'll continue to update you all on what projects are funded through our current grant lines as we keep trying to find more funds to support projects around the state.
And for those who don't have it in front of them, between the Good to Great grants, which were awarded over the last couple of years, or actually last year, I'm sorry, is just over $2 million of funding to 8 organizations. And then the Connecticut Humanities funding lines, 13 grants at nearly $160,000. So details will be on our website and available for the public to see as well. But we do want to encourage organizations to pursue funding through us and our partners at the Office of the Arts and through federal sources.
Just a question, Jason. I know this is probably a guess on your part, but as the legislature, as we get closer to 250, would you think there might be more encouragement on their level to do more funding? Or I know that's a guess.
I hope so. I mean, people are thinking about it more.
Yeah.
And I think now that we're under 2 years away, and it is within the next biennium, I think it will be an important signal to the public that this is important. And I think given our focus, not just on the past is important, the events that shaped America, but I think how we are imagining the future, and certainly with the understanding that civic health is an important part of our democratic, our democracy. Yeah.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, moving on, we now are going to discuss the affiliate program feedback. Cindy, this is your section.
So a big conversation, both internally at Connecticut Humanities, from some of the commission subcommittee meetings, and also from feedback from the general public, has been around how we can raise awareness about the commission, the fact that it exists, and better connect it with projects that are going on around the state. So as part of that, we have developed this affiliate program based on the guiding values and the themes that the commission has laid forward in past meetings. And you should have received in the packet originally the affiliate program criteria, and also there is a link to a application form. We tried to keep this as simple as possible in hopes that it would be easy for organizations to submit and participate in this. We envision a lot of arts and culture organizations could participate. And what they would receive in exchange is the ability to use a America 250 Connecticut affiliate logo. And so it would give kind of blanket permission to use the logo on any programs or events or exhibitions that are in line with the themes of the commission, with the caveat that we would ask them to submit it onto our events calendar, whatever the events calendar looks like at that point in time, so that we can promote it and ensure that commissioners and the public are aware of it. And the hope is that in so doing, we'll get the logo out there in front of people, and we'll raise awareness of kind of everything going on around the state. So we are really looking for any feedback. The criteria document is a little denser than the actual request form. And like I said, you should have a link to that via the agenda. I have one copy printed out, but we didn't want to kill that many trees. So any thoughts or?
That one should be in.
Oh, is it? Okay, maybe you do have it in front of you.
Oh, no, I didn't. Yeah. Would you like us to sort of go over it right this minute and provide feedback, or do you want to wait till the next meeting,
Yeah,
or?
we can go through it. So it is largely based on that value statement. So Connecticut Semi-Quincentennial Commission will plan and coordinate activities commemorating the 250th anniversary of the nation's founding, enhance tourism, economic development, historic education and preservation, and outdoor recreation within the state, and coordinate, engage, and liaise with the U.S. Semi-Quincentennial Commission and other local, county, and state commissions, as well as private and public organizations and partners. I will stop reading out loud our mission statement. So we've all agreed on this. So next paragraph. To this end, the commission welcomes organizations to participate in an affiliate program. Affiliates will have access to use the commission's logo on marketing materials and to promote 250th related events on the commission's website, in newsletters, and through social media posts. Affiliate organizations approved by the commission will demonstrate that their values align with the commission's values statement. So that is 1, align initiatives with inclusive themes and values. 2, make welcome as many people from across Connecticut's communities as possible. 3, encourage people to consider the future repercussions of today's actions. 4, all projects, events, and programs should call for mutual respect and empathy. 5, all activities should be accessible to as many people as possible, bearing in mind and attempting to accommodate for physical limitations as well as socioeconomic, language, and other potential barriers to access. 6, share knowledge and resources with others whenever possible. And 7, center relationships in the process of developing trust and be honest and candid with all involved in the process of planning programs, events, and initiatives. And really, this all goes back to this idea of welcoming as many people into the commission and its activities as possible, and really encouraging this respectful and open-minded relationship between folks. Program promoted as being 250th affiliated will align with one of the themes on the America 250 Connecticut website. So that's tell inclusive stories, power of place, doing history, and for the common good. And then affiliate programs must reasonably provide access, being ADA compliant or above for all events, programs, exhibits, etc. And that they are equitable, inclusive, and support a broad diversity of voices and perspectives. We do require that they be nonpartisan in nature and left of caveat that they may be reviewed for accuracy of historical interpretation. And we discussed this, we are not going to be actively policing historical interpretation and the accuracy, but if something comes to our attention, we want to be able to openly have that conversation with folks and kind of work to just review any inaccuracies that are being portrayed. Yes, Steve.
So just to reiterate that, not every proposal is automatically accepted.
Correct. And it's really, we just want to make sure that we're not accepting any organizations that are really not aligned with our values. There are very few circumstances that we can think of. One is any blatantly partisan organizations. I think we want to stay out of that. And 2, I mean, hi. Hey, Liz. And 2, if there are any organizations that are actively listed as hate groups or something like that, we just want to be able to say no to those folks without and be able to kind of point at a reason for it. But outside of that, there aren't a lot of organizations that we see not being in like this community with us.
Okay.
Any feedback,
And so
questions?
process,
Oh, yes.
right? So then we have the application form that reflects this proposal. And I think Cindy, we had talked about the governance committee being the reviewing entity for the commission that would sort of look at and approve the proposals.
And
Or the-
that would allow us to review proposals on a quarterly basis, which seems like a really timely way to do it. And then we could present those at our commission meeting. So hopefully by October, we could kind of have a first slate of affiliates. And we see it as being an easier way to promote rather than having to review every single event. Yeah.
So I think for the commission, is this an acceptable framework for the affiliate program for thinking about it? You haven't seen the application itself, but it does reflect this and the kinds of questions we would be asking. And we'll happily share the link with you if you would like to review. But I think what we would want to know is, does it also seem reasonable for the governance committee to be the entity to review? And if the commission is willing to approve that moving forward.
No objections? Okay.
Can I just sorry, I'm not sure exactly how to raise my hand, so I'm just gonna do it
Yes.
visually.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks so much for sharing this, Cindy. I think that the thing that I was just noticing and reviewing some of these materials, and I think it's much clearer now that I've heard you talk about it, is just clarifying that the affiliate is the organization, not the particular program. And I think it's this sentence where you're sharing your screen right now, affiliate programs. Like, I think it's that word, like the affiliate program, which is the program where you bring in organizations to be organizational affiliates of the commission. And that being very similar to an affiliated program of an organization that is an affiliate of the, do you understand what I'm saying? These
Yeah.
uses of program. So I think that for clarity, if what's coming in as the affiliate is the organization presenting the program, then I think changing that first sentence to be like affiliate or affiliated programs or affiliated organizations, because you use the word program a little bit later in that sentence. I think just offering a clarity that it's the organization that's applying to kind of get blanket permission to align in the programs that they are offering that are 250th related.
That makes sense.
I think just kind of clarifying that is good. And I think that, thinking about this program may inform some of the revisions that we do to our own document around, presenting welcoming programs that we're going to talk about a little bit later. Because I think there's some shared terrain here for those.
Great.
Thanks.
That makes sense. That, I agree with you, Amherst. I was looking at this phrase as well and thinking there's some reason that I guess we don't have. Do we call these organizations affiliates officially? Is that?
I would like to,
They
yeah.
would be
And then-
official affiliates of this commission.
And then we can have a page on the website where we have all of these organizations. We can link out to them. At the end of the day, we're really hoping to connect the public with organizations in their community that are doing good work. So that seems like a great way to do it.
Right. So then I would suggest this be said a different way, in a way to say something like, to become an affiliate of the commission rather than participate in affiliate program, because that eliminates that confusion too.
Yeah.
We can do so.
Okay.
So just to be clear, our review would never get to the programmatic level.
Right.
We're not critiquing the program.
Right.
And critiquing probably isn't the right word, but we're not analyzing the program. We're just, we're giving trust in the organization.
And we will ask folks to submit their programs to us, but that's really for inclusion on the calendar. And our one request will be that the programs be tied to one of the themes of the commission. So yoga at the museum might not be a 250th program, but a lecture that's tied to the civic health of a community would be. So taking those considerations.
So that they would be reviewed for historical accuracy at the point that they're submitting a program.
Like I said, I really think that is going to be, if somebody brings up to us that they attended a 250th related program that they didn't feel was historically accurate, I get the feeling that's the point at which we'll be doing any kind of review. We're hoping that eventually we're getting 100 programs a month, and we recognize that our staff, the staff at the Connecticut Office of Tourism, doesn't have the power to review all of those things, but we do want to promote and share them.
It certainly doesn't preclude a conversation with staff or folks on the commission.
It would obviously be unfortunate if there was an inappropriate or a not historically accurate thing that had the America 250 seal on it, that we had endorsed it. That would be unfortunate.
And we can include some language that, and this is off the top of my head, but something along the lines of, we recognize these organizations as an affiliate, but we are not necessarily endorsing their programs or having conducted some kind of review of them. Can figure out what that can make that prettier. But
Our goal is to find alignment here with in the spirit of our themes and mission.
I wanted to echo something Andy said in the chat, which is quarterly going to be sufficient in terms of timing for the organizations? I was also thinking we may get to a point where early on there are not that many applications, but as we get closer, we get more and more. And will that be something the governance committee can handle as we get closer to it? But from an organizational perspective, if you're thinking about adding in a logo or information into marketing materials, do we want to be, as Andy said, a delay or a speed bump in terms of adding that to materials that an organization is promoting if we're going on a quarterly schedule?
I was thinking the same thing. I'm thinking that it'd be important to note the dates of the meetings and make sure it's clear so people are sure to submit, in time for each meeting.
yeah,
Could
and
also have ad hoc meetings.
yeah, I think
We get closer.
we do still want to bring it to the full commission, but we could, in theory, schedule a last minute or a special meeting of the commission and do that, and also a special meeting of the governance subcommittee. And we will kind of monitor what's coming in. Connecticut Humanities has granted out to about 730 organizations. I think some of those will be organizations that could likely be affiliates, some won't. So I'm hoping we're not looking at hundreds upon hundreds, but probably a couple of hundred people over the course of a couple of years.
I noticed in the application, there's a lot of yes or no, which I think will make the process of approval very much simpler.
Yeah, I think there's a spot for additional comments, and there was one question where we do kind of ask organizations to explain how their values align with ours. Because I think at least some level beyond yes or no is important. But like I said, we don't want to be a roadblock, and that's not at all what this is in the spirit of.
Liz has her hand up.
Yes, Liz.
Thanks, Jason. So I think an affiliate program for organizations is a really good idea, because I do think that that will get more people involved, more organizations involved. So I really like that idea. And I did look at the application, which I think is totally fine. It's hard to know what to ask. Those seem to be all the right questions. But also, if people are saying, it's sort of how much agency are we going to give to people who are saying the right things, because everybody is going to say the right thing. You know, when you're asking a yes or no question, and yes is obviously the correct answer, no one's going to say no, folks. So,
Yeah.
I think in some ways I look at this review as like, what do we hope to accomplish by the review? And it's nice to get people to write a statement. I'm not against that, but it's kind of like, are you with us? Are you not? This isn't a program review, right? I'm just questioning sort of like, really, we're going to have to review all of these when they're all going to say yes? And what are we going to say if we read someone's statement and they're like, oh, we don't like this statement, it's not really good? I literally do not want to be in discussions with everyone on this commission about whether somebody's statement is good enough. So I'm just throwing that out as like a real world potential. Maybe maybe somebody just has to run through them to see that all the answers are yes. And then if they are, like, check, we don't need to actually review these unless we're going to do something with those who we somehow don't like, which is another problem maybe.
And I think there should be, probably for 99% of the applicants, this is not an issue. But I think and I think you already said this is true, but there should be some option for the committee, if there is indeed a problematic entry, that at least a conversation take place.
That's what I would think, like maybe the governance committee can kind of green light quickly all the ones that are obvious. And then if there are kind of red flags, we can put them to the side and bring them to the full committee if there's some that are questionable.
Yeah, I support that. That seems like a better idea.
And I think that is more what we were thinking when we put this together. It really was not have this full commission looking over lots of names, more of the governance committee sees absolutely no problem with these 20. This one might be questionable. Does anyone know them? Or if not, we green light it or yellow light it and just note to keep an eye on what is submitted.
At this point, have we had many inquiries along these lines? We've had some.
We have. People are starting to plan programs, starting to submit them to us and ask us to promote them. And we have that events criteria form. But part of this conversation came from working on that form for organizations to submit their programs and realizing that it is a very cumbersome form. So if you're an organization that has 5 programs a month, the form is enough of a pain that I don't know if you'll be submitting. But if you can become an affiliate and then just submit only the details of an event, that makes it a lot easier. And so it's simplifying it for organizations. And it also makes it so that if an organization is not necessarily aligned with the work we do for whatever reason, it's a town and the town itself doesn't want to submit as a commission affiliate, they will still be able to submit an event via the event form. That's a little more cumbersome, but this will facilitate the process of some organizations submitting things.
I'd encourage us, I know the communication schedule is later, but to really push for orgs to do it now so that we can just get them all.
Get
so
it
that
going.
It's not so last minute later.
Spirit of that, Ariane, I'm wondering if we should just be green lighting the organizations we've already funded. You know, we've already sort of reviewed, approved, and made grants. We can sort of put them into the program instantly and communicate it out if the commission is comfortable with that.
Any objections? No. I don't think we need to vote on that, but I think it's a good idea. I mean, obviously, if you're already funding
Got a
them,
pipeline
you've
already.
got a pipeline right there. And as Cindy says, it'll just make it easier for people to get their events on the calendars without a great deal of paperwork. So, okay.
Great.
We'll go with that. Anyone else? Any other concerns? That was a good discussion. It is a tricky business. I find myself wondering if other states have also struggled with this issue.
I will say is a lot of other states have started an affiliate program, but they're charging organizations to participate. And I think that's not really what we wanted. It's not in the spirit of what we've talked about doing. So I think some folks are doing $250 a year, some folks are doing $250 for the whole commission or commemoration. But we talked about it and really didn't feel like that was the way we wanted to go.
Related to both of your comments, I've been thinking about our previous conversations about endorsing and how we were discussing that puts the responsibility and onus on the commission to do the legwork to really confirm that these are programs that we want to be associated with. And I think this idea of an affiliate program in which they are applying, even if it is a series of yes check boxes, the onus and the responsibility is on them to really say, this is something that we are taking an affirmative action to be part of. So I think that even from a semantics perspective, I think there's more to it than that, but I like the idea of an affiliate program because I think it leaves it clear that it is the organization that is wanting to participate in making statements about their programs, that the commission itself is not necessarily making at that individual level. So I like the direction that this is heading.
Okay, great. Anybody else want to weigh in? Yes. Yeah, Jonathan. Yeah.
Going back to Stephen's question or comment about it would be unfortunate if I'm trying to look at this from the general public perspective. And if we have an events calendar that whether you're an affiliate or not, you can put an event on that calendar. How is the general public really going to know the difference between an event that we effectively endorsed because they're an affiliate versus one that they didn't, if an issue like Stephen suggests were to come up? Because it's on our events calendar one way or the other, there is some connection.
Do actually have like a gold star on some programs. And those are ones that rather than being an affiliate program, I think they're going to be funded programs. So those have gone through an extensive review process with the application review committee. Or are programs that we've decided to sponsor in some other way, shape, or form, or a commission member is heavily involved in. Like one of those programs was the reading at the Beinecke Library. So those are ones that we really feel confident in saying, yes, the commission would be okay with this. We trust this program, we trust this organization. Otherwise, they are programs that are being submitted and we're posting them on there, but it looks a little different. And it's not bigger or smaller, it's just got, you can kind of see it on the screen, the little yellow star at the beginning of it.
But to John's point, and in all due caution, you know, is it worth putting, refracting these applications through the affiliate program before they go up onto a calendar, rather than just sort of a blank opportunity to post? And then we can't avoid the relationship if it goes sideways.
Not to belabor this, but if we're going to have gold star programs that we really believe in, wouldn't to create that fairly require a more closer reading of the proposals? Because there may be somebody that you don't even know, I don't even know who they are, but they may present a bang up thing. How would they be recognized for that? If you're going to create a gold star program.
I think that's why we're really just keeping it at Connecticut Humanities funded programs. They've gone through that review process. We have provided funding for them, which for all of intents and purposes means the commission has provided funding for them.
Their review process.
So, yeah.
What about creating another category? I mean, not to make this too complex, saying that this is a program of an affiliate of the commission.
I think we could do that.
Could
I
be a
don't think that would be,
Another category,
yeah.
sort of, a silver star. I don't know.
We could do CTH funded, America 250.
Affiliate.
Program.
Yes, Andy, he says we should probably avoid Gold Star program since that has
I know,
Green
star.
Yellow Star.
The more categories you create, just whoever is evaluating these, the more complications
Yeah.
are in the process. Just state the obvious.
I'm okay with 3. I don't think we want to go beyond 3 really, but if we have these 3 kind of categories that we've agreed on, CTH funded, this affiliate program, and then other. I think that's fine.
Maybe make it a color instead of a star. I don't know.
Yeah. We've got some limitations right now with the calendar we're using. We're in conversation with CT Visit and to see what we can do with them. And if not, we'll kind of invest in a better calendar system. But for now, we're okay. Emojis it is for categorizing.
The bottom line here is no matter what, there's gonna be some people who are not gonna like some programs. There's not gonna be much that we're gonna be able to do to avoid that because there's always some people who don't like some programs. And they could be some programs that are funded by Connecticut Humanities. So I feel like I agree with all of this, and mitigating risk is important, but also maybe what's also equally important is ensuring that people understand how to use the like, here's a calendar, because most people go to things close to them, right? Like that's, why do people go to things? They're not necessarily going to go to things because they were funded by Connecticut Humanities. They're going to go to things because I want that to be the case, but they're going to go to things because they're in their town or in the next door town, or their family is involved in them, right? So, like we can talk about this. I don't think there's a way that we can proof this.
Good point, Liz.
Thanks for that ego check, Liz.
It's more of like covering ourselves.
Yeah.
And, like an after the fact, as opposed to necessarily promoting it. That's how I take it.
Yeah, but if you're gonna have someone, like, nothing will cover you. Hi, I work for the state. Nothing is gonna cover me if something is like, it's always gonna be my fault. So I think there's probably gonna be stuff, but if there are stuff, then we just have to be ready to deal with what kind of stuff could happen. And that is an interesting conversation, maybe, but not for now.
Well, given that, and I think you're correct about much of that, why don't we just put a caveat? This is the lawyer in me talking. Why don't we put a caveat at the bottom, say, this is a calendar, we're not responsible for the content or something. I don't know how we word that, but I think we should have some sort of.
Yeah.
It's already in
Oh,
there.
it's already there. Hey, see, you're way ahead of me. All right, so.
And I'll just ask a slightly different perspective, which is just about, okay, this calendar is a really great tool. It's going to have all of these diverse opportunities. What are we doing to get this calendar out there as much as possible so the actual constituents of ours can access it and have awareness?
So I think outside of what we're doing here is that coordination with CT Visit. So we have some kind of master calendar for the state, and we're directing people to that.
Is that right, Liz? Is there a master calendar of events? I think there probably is, right? Yeah, I've never seen it personally.
And then we,
CTvisit.com.
yeah,
There you go. Great.
Like I said, we're working to try to incorporate this into what already exists so that we're not recreating the wheel. There are just a couple of questions about a few things that once we clarify those, maybe with any luck in October, we'll have some clarity around what is and isn't possible.
All right, good discussion.
Sally?
If I could, I just wanted to say, I think that one of the great things about this is that it raises the bar for everybody, and by people looking at the form and looking at what the values are, it gets those out there as well. And maybe like a strategy screen that you use when you're planning programs, it kind of helps you formulate your program in a way you might not have thought of to begin with. So I think it has a lot of value there.
Okay, we have no more comment. I think we'll move on to subcommittee updates, where we're going to hear from subcommittees about what they've been doing in their meetings. And are we just we're gonna just go into what people have been doing? I see we have Amris is first with community and organizational engagement. Amris,
Hi.
hi.
That was actually a perfect transition to what we've been talking about in the community and organizational engagement subcommittee. The last comment about like a strategy screen or guidance in planning programs, questions and thoughts to help folks get, start thinking about ensuring that their programs are kind of aligning with the commission's values. So Cindy, thank you for sharing your screen. This is still a document kind of in draft and in progress, but we've spent the past several months actually kind of taking our guidance from and our mandates from the IDEA subcommittee and trying to figure out the best way to distill those. And apologies in advance, my neighbor is mowing the lawn, so if there's background noise, I apologize.
You're good.
But okay, good. I'm glad you can hear me. I'm the one who's going to be listening to the lawn mowing. What we've been doing is kind of taking that and distilling it down into something that can help organizations of all sorts really think about creating the programs that are welcoming and in the spirit of the commission. So this was a multi-page document with a lot of different kind of questions and guidance. We had originally envisioned it as sort of a self-assessment kind of document, yes, no questions, or maybe like a good, better, best sort of thing. And over the course of our conversations, we really decided to kind of really simplify and bring things down to some encouragements and sets of thought-provoking questions that we hope will guide people in the right direction. Because as I think the conversation that we were just having about the affiliate program really underscores, there are a lot of different organizations out there that are engaged in ensuring that their events are welcoming in a lot of different kinds of ways. And it's very challenging to create like one document that really applies to everybody. And the way that we decided to work on that was thinking about protected classes under Connecticut state law, and emphasizing that as one of the frameworks to get people thinking about these questions of equity and access, to underscore that diversity is something you can think about in a lot of different ways, but really to provide just some general guidance for organizations that, and I think this kind of, now looking at the affiliate program, I think, we can think about these things together and perhaps refine this document a little bit more, because I hadn't sort of looked at all of those materials when we were in the process of refining this document itself. I think that we're still working on a title, whether we want to include those kind of buzzwords around IDEA in particular, or if we would like to kind of make this a more general, kind of guide to welcoming wider audiences, or using some language that AASLH has used in their program planning guide, making events that are for everyone. I think we've done a lot of work in our commission meetings, in our subcommittee meetings, to get out of the kind of abstract realm and down to really concrete and helpful suggestions that guide people through the planning process. Thinking about event planning and who should be at the table, thinking about promoting your event, thinking about Oh, good. Nice point, Liz. So Liz is saying that with the announcement of Governor's Task Force on Equity, we can definitely use IDEA language. I know this was circulated kind of late, so I don't know if it makes sense to spend a little time all together as a commission and gather some input and feedback on that. My son just brought me raspberries from next door, which is really great.
One question,
Yeah,
is this specific to events or is this program planning in general?
so it's guidance for organizations who want to make their events more welcoming and tie them to the commission's goals. So
Okay, so it's events.
yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm not sure about the differences between events and programs planning. So as a museum person, I think of those two things as the same. They fall into the same category for me. So I think it could be guidance on any activities that an organization engages in related to the 250. So that would be sort of my comment on that.
Yeah. I mean, I think of events as people coming to a spot, or even if it's online, it's still going to a place. And sometimes to me, that's automatically excluding people who aren't able to get to the place. So I would love to encourage groups to think beyond events and think about what kinds of programs they can create that are not events, where they might be able to be more, I don't know, widespread, whether it's, producing publications that could be emailed out or mailed out, or is, like an app or something online, or I don't know.
Big read.
Just things that are maybe not event specific or like date specific.
Well,
That's really good feedback, I think, and I think that we can, I think we on the subcommittee were thinking about both of those things, and I think that we can certainly, I mean, with minimal changes to this, address some of that. I mean, we do talk in the document about, getting folks to think about the barriers to access that might exist, and how that certainly exists for certain events.
so would you just remove the word event and just say planning guide for inclusion, diversity, equity, and access? That would help.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just don't want people to like feel pigeonholed into this idea of events.
right. I mean, I'm trying to find it online, pardon me, while I'm scrolling through here, but so Amorous, already in the document, there are nods to this idea that it would be not just an event, but it might be whatever else they're doing, or would that have to be added?
I mean, I think we were thinking about events, but I think that like replacing that with program, I think is, if that's a more capacious term, I don't think it would require a lot of substantive changes to the content of the document
Okay.
to move it to what we might think of as a broader category.
Super easy to change. Like that would be super easy.
Yeah, and there are references to programs in here as well, so.
Like Liz, I think about those things in kind of interchangeable ways. And I think, I don't think we need to get bogged down in definitions. This is stuff that folks are doing, right?
Yeah,
I mean, whether it's a specific event or whether it's, a longer term set a series of things that their organization is participating in.
Got it. Okay. All right. So that's good feedback. Anybody else?
And so I'll expand a little on what Amorous has said and say that the subcommittee really shaped this into planning, promoting, implementing, and then reflecting on any activities that have been planned, and really worked hard to develop these questions to guide conversations at an organization. So the idea behind this was always to not be directive, but rather to, much like Sally mentioned with that affiliate form, get people talking and thinking differently about their planning process. So I might just read through some of the questions so folks can hear what we're thinking of. So are all the appropriate people meaningfully involved in the planning process? Are there partnerships that you could make with other groups or organizations that could shape the event or program in exciting or new ways? What potential barriers might there be for people's ability to participate, and how could you reduce them? So really these broad questions that go beyond any one category of inclusion, diversity, equity, and access, but really broadly go to this idea of just accessibility more than anything else. And that was at the heart of the conversations that the subcommittee was having, this idea of increasing access broadly. So then for promoting it, have you sought out different channels for promoting your event that will allow you to reach a wider, more diverse audience? Have you thought about the language and images you are using to promote your event to ensure they're welcoming to as many different groups as you wish to attend? And how are you communicating or highlighting the ways you're making your event more accessible or family friendly? In terms of implementation, have you considered and attempted to accommodate or address various barriers to access? Have you engaged with people from different backgrounds in the planning stages and worked to implement your event in a way that will make those from different backgrounds, communities, affinity groups feel welcome? Is your event ADA compliant? And then finally, encouraging people to reflect after the fact. So was your event successful in attracting guests from different groups that you typically would see? If not, have you reflected on why they may not have participated? Did you watch for any accessibility difficulties? And if any were noted, were you able to address them with the resources available? What additional resources might you need to plan for in a future event? Of the changes made in the event planning process, have you identified which were successful or unsuccessful in achieving your goals? And have you identified any additional strategies to incorporate for your next program? So these are really it was a great effort to not be targeted.
Right.
And
Really nice work.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was just gonna say, this is a great addition to our work, Amherst. I know it must have been a long process to get to this, but this is such a great educational document for everyone. And I'm assuming we will use this as a planning guide for anybody who's applying for grants or anything like that in our own process, because I think this is just a great document, honestly.
Yeah.
Very good work.
We
Thank
will
you so
publish
much.
it on the website. We might do one final round of edits based on some of the feedback from today, but we want to get this published, widely accessible. We'll kind of clean it up a little bit to make it a more attractive document. But at the end of the day, it's really about getting people to use it starting in the next couple of weeks, hopefully.
And what I would love to know is if we had any kind of feedback process to see if people used it, how it worked. I mean, and did they really reflect on whatever happened with their event or program? I think that would be really interesting. And so hopefully we can incorporate something in, once we get people using it out there, I think it would be even more interesting to see what the outcome is.
Well, thank you for that feedback, and I certainly want to thank everyone on the subcommittee, as well as recognize Rachel and Cindy for the work that they've done, kind of refining and distilling a lot of the ideas. Like, these were very wide-ranging conversations that we had in our subcommittee meetings, and this document has changed a lot. So it's good to know that that this is something that meets with the commission's approval, and I think that I want to go back to one of the things that we have also been kind of thinking about. I know Andy and especially has been talking about this, but we keep coming back to this question of historical accuracy and not really wanting to be in a position to be reviewing all of these events. But again, when we've been thinking about the sorts of guidance that we can provide, we've got this affiliate program now, we've got some kind of accessibility guidance in this document. is there something that we can come up with? Or just resources out there that we can point to, something that's similarly brief, that gets people oriented with a framework and then some questions, and then like this links out to resources for thinking about, what it means to be, crafting events that are true to the past. So I think that's something that we'll continue to talk about in our group and would welcome any feedback on that.
I just tying some things together in my own mind, I'm thinking about this in terms of something that maybe isn't the target of this right now, but the Gen Z conversation that we just had. Can this get people thinking about what they could do to encourage more participation by younger people? It's an audience we haven't thought about too much, but I was thinking about, as I was reading through this document, I was thinking this could be a very useful tool for that. Just as an example. So
We have a member of the Gen Z right here.
hi, Gen Z.
She's going to, why don't you introduce yourself to the group and maybe share some reflections about how we can best engage with this group.
Yeah, hi, I'm Megan Baker. I'm the Asian American Pacific Islander Policy Analyst for the Commission on Women, Children, Seniors, Equity, and Opportunity. I know I might be the wrong Gen Z because I am already here and engaged, but I think social media, I think we function on our commission a lot about meeting people where they're at, meeting Gen Z where they're engaged. A lot of that is the social media work. I know the calendar is a really good tool. If there's a way to integrate the advertisements for those events in a more like short spanned, palatable way on social media, I don't know if Gen Z would necessarily go through a calendar and a website on CT Visit, but if there are short video clips or bits that we can highlight, and even like short reels about the locations. I think what's really popular is like food and travel blogs and kind of incorporating some of that in the ways that the grants that were received for some of the locations in Weathersfield, or creating bite-sized palatable things like that, I think would be good. But I also think integrating questions like that into here would help as well.
Just to get people thinking about it,
Yeah.
the other possibilities. You're saying this right now about social media brings me up to, because that is not something I automatically think about. So that's probably a good indication. That's great feedback. Yeah.
We have Nicholas online too as
Oh.
well. I don't want to lose sight of what he might want to offer. Not to put you on the spot, Nick.
Oh, it's all good. I'm gonna kind of build on that. I was thinking earlier, like prior to this meeting, that if there's a way we can integrate our ideas and our agenda onto social media somehow. I know I've heard somewhere like you can hire social media managers almost. I don't know if that's something we would want to potentially look into, but we can kind of give them some information and stuff like that, and they can kind of go through and push our agenda out there. So like a younger generation can kind of have that more accessibly and like in a way that they can kind of connect to a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah. Good idea.
Thank you both.
Yeah. Thank you both.
We
So-
could potentially also offer an educational program for organizations about social media
Oh.
engagement,
Yeah.
or integrated into the document that Ambrose was working on as well.
Yeah.
And I think we have, I mean, I know I've mentioned it before, but the Made by Us group is the folks that really have done, I think, a lot of work and are doing this work successfully in the history and civic space. So, if we could get someone from Made by Us to share, I think as a commission, we would benefit from hearing their framing of this stuff, because I personally do not feel like I have the knowledge or expertise to advise others on how they
Right.
should use social media. And I feel like that may be a sentiment that is shared by a lot of people in this real and virtual room. So I think that, this is where folks like Nick, lived experience will be really helpful. But I think, also bringing in someone like Caroline from Made by Us, or someone else, I know they'd be happy to come and do a little something at the top of one of our commission meetings.
Wow.
I think it could get us thinking in the right direction. So we do feel that at least we have an understanding of what might be required, even if we don't have the expertise to give the guidance ourselves, and then a sense of the resources that we could be pointing others to, and then better mobilize the Gen Z folks that we have within our sphere of influence. And I go back to something that Liz actually talked about at the very beginning of us meeting, was like finding the people who are on social media who are already reaching those audiences and, using in that kind of influencer sort of way to elevate 250th related content and get it kind of into the feeds of people who are primarily interacting, finding events, finding things to do through that medium.
Yeah. Good idea.
Thanks, Amherst. Andy has a comment in the chat. Andy, I'm not sure if you want to expand on that a little bit more.
It's a little dated at this point. The conversation moved forward a bit, but I just Amherst had mentioned my concern about historical accuracy, and I just wanted to clarify or emphasize that I don't think the commission should be a panel of peer review or set up a process of that kind. But I do think that it's important for us to be asserting in meaningful ways, along with emphasizing inclusivity and these other worthy goals, to say that it's our expectation and insistence that all events have historical, have a focus on historical accuracy, and stating that, reminding people that that's a value, I think is probably the best we can do, because obviously we're not going to fact check in advance all the words that are spoken at every event.
I like your phrase, focus on historical accuracy. That's a kind of a broader term. So I like that. Can we incorporate that in somewhere?
Absolutely. And Andy, I know this is slightly self-serving so that you don't get 3.5 million emails from the state's residents.
Not that you'd mind.
As
being the state historian.
I love getting emails asking about historical accuracy. That's actually the best. We want people focused on those things. But I think we have many important values as a commission. And I think that when we're dealing with the interpretation of history, particularly in a very heightened partisan moment, simply asserting like that they go together, being welcoming of people with different views and backgrounds, the way that you do that, the mechanism for doing that is not just being nice to everybody, but it's an insistence on a certain kind of truth. And I think that we need both of those pillars to work together, because you can be really welcoming, but then if you lie to people, it doesn't work. So I think that we need to see a certain kind of empirical truth as being a central foundation for our goals of inclusivity.
Thanks for that reminder.
Thank you. Yes, good reminder.
It's such a great point too, because I think one of the things that we've talked a lot about on our subcommittee is just sort of avoiding the jargon, and also like not wanting this to be a document that does IDEA as a performative thing, right? That really gets people meaningfully engaged with those questions about how to bring folks to the table. And I think, I think that it might be worth adding something in our revisions to the point that Andy just created, that like, that this is one of the ways of doing it is by, telling more of these stories and looking to the past, and, that those things are not in conflict with each other, that it's not all just like a total revision of things. I think that it really meaningfully grounds things in the work of both increasing access and of doing good history. So thank you for sharing that. I really like the way you frame that.
Yeah, and it points directly at one of our themes.
Right.
I'll move us on to education. I don't want to cut our time too short for you, Steve. So if you'd like to share some of the work you've been doing.
Sure. By the way, Amherst mentioned abstract conversations, and I can assure you that in the Education Committee, we have had countless fascinating and sometimes endless abstract conversations on educational theory and history. But what we've decided to do in the ed subcommittee is focus on some specific tasks. And we want to help teachers. And originally, we're going to help museums. We're going to help historical societies. Our job right now, we feel, is we want to help teachers at the pre-K through 12 teach this. And also the thing that we're having a little trouble, and Bilal Sakau, who is our co-chair, is wrestling with, is how to make this happen at the college level. That's a tough nut. He's working, I don't know, those that know Matt Farley, who's a member
Yes.
of our subcommittee. But I'll be honest with you, that's a tougher nut to crack on how to make this a part of collegiate life in Connecticut, but we're still working on that. But for the pre-K 12 people, we've decided on 3 immediate steps. First off, this probably doesn't surprise you, but we found that the vast number of teachers in Connecticut have never heard of America, wouldn't know America 250 from the Man in the Moon.
Right.
So our first thing is we're going to create a 1-pager. Here's what America is. Here's what it stands for. Here's what's coming. And here's what you can do with your students. And one of the things that we're going to suggest doing with your students, hey, make them take informed action. There are local committees being in your own community, hook up with the local communities and get involved.
Right.
But we think that just that 1-pager to teachers, and we have numerous listservs and things, Connecticut Council of Social Studies, State Department of Ed, we can get this out to people. But we think that's an important first step. Second step is there's a number of resources. And Cindy, correct me if I'm wrong, these have been submitted by different folks, and we're going to tie in as many as we can with the new state social studies standards. So if somebody wants to know, hey, where's some resources on 250 that I could use if I'm going to teach these standards, that'll all be listed. A subtopic of this, by the way, will be some of the standards submitted need some development, little broken links and something, and a subgroup of our subcommittee is going to be working on that. And then the third thing, our longer term project, which may take the first half of the year, is we're going to create a curriculum packet. I don't know if that's a horrible word, but some curriculum materials that teachers can use at all levels. Here's the basic story. Here's groups you may not know contributed in this era. Indigenous people, African Americans, women, and have a narrative on that and have resources that will help them, primary sources that will help them teach this. I mean, that's a start, but at least we want to prepare teachers to include this in their curriculum. And we think that these 3 steps are good first steps to do this. Again, to repeat for the second time, with the college, how to integrate it with the college is still something that we're working on, and may have more endless conversations on, but I don't. That's what education in a nutshell is doing. If anybody has questions or suggestions, fire away.
I guess I have a question. You talk about developing curriculum materials. That's a big job, as we all know who have tried to do this.
Yeah,
Are you-
I think curriculum materials is too strong. I probably use too strong a word.
Okay,
It may be a page
Yeah.
on here's the story of the revolution or something like that.
sort of a teacher's
A
guide.
teacher's guide.
Okay,
Here's resources you
Yeah.
can use.
okay,
Indigenous peoples had a role in this era. Here's a page.
okay,
And by the way, I'm not going to write these. We're going to get other people to write
Okay,
these.
yeah.
Here's some resources to use.
great.
So a basic teacher's guide on that at least could get them started on teaching this.
I think a lot of it is going to be a lot of links out to materials that have already been created. For example, each of the 5 tribes has developed curriculum materials for teachers. So connecting those to the standards and to the 250th in a way that then encourages classroom teachers to use them. So less developing new stuff.
Yeah, no, I wasn't even, I knew it probably wasn't developing brand new
No,
materials. That's really,
that's out of our
Yeah,
realm,
right.
way out of our realm.
I'm sure there's a lot already out there. In fact, we were looking at some have come into us for evaluation. I'm just thinking like, that's a great practical start, honestly, Steve. I think that's terrific. It'll be up to others to figure out how to market it, so to speak, but you obviously through the State Department of Education can do a lot. I was just wondering, Would it be for every grade level, or are you gonna try to
Well, you
target
know what?
certain grade levels?
Without getting into detail.
Yeah, sorry,
It would be the grades that teach US history and third grade, which teaches Connecticut history.
Oh, yeah,
So
that was my
so
other
those are-
question.
We're gonna target materials for those grades.
And you're gonna try to have it be kind of
Content-
Connecticut focused to
Completely
some, oh,
Connecticut
completely Connecticut
Connecticut,
focused.
completely Connecticut.
Great. So that will make it very unique, right? Okay,
So
Great.
that's, I
yeah,
mean, it's.
sounds great.
I was just, and I'll quiet down, but I was crushed that maybe I shouldn't have been, that so few people that I talked to in the teacher world had ever heard that. That was disappointing. But that's why we're doing a one pager.
Is there anything else this commission could do to help get the word out? Originally I had thought about making presentations to CABE and to CAPS and to all these
I
various
would think that would
organizations.
be ultimately a very worthwhile thing.
So if we have these materials
Mhm.
developed, do you have a timeline at all on
We'd
that?
have them, we'd have that, we want to have that packet done by, say, October.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Because I would say, I would certainly be interested, we can set up meetings with all these overarching organizations that I think would help start getting the word out. Because you're right. I think it's true in the general public too. There are very few people that know this is coming. It's starting to get out there. I think former President Trump did mention that if he is elected president, there will be a major celebration of the America 250. And it did do a lot to make people aware that it's happening. Which is a good thing. So,
I think the groups to go at is superintendents.
Yes.
Because I think there's many superintendents, when they hear about this, they'll want their district to be involved.
exactly, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. Other questions?
If anyone wants to come to another endless abstract discussion, I'll schedule a special meeting of the committee and you'll be happy to attend.
Yeah, that actually dovetails with something I wanted to say, because there have been issues in all the subcommittees, I think, about discussions that go far afield. So I would just ask subcommittee members, anyone who's on these subcommittees, we've got to have tighter agendas, because it is now 2 years until this event. And we're running out of time. So we really need to set some stricter timelines. And I know that's difficult because people have all ideas. I'm getting contacted by lots of people in the public who have lots of ideas. Ideas there are many. We need to narrow the ideas down rather than taking more in at this point. So especially, I know, Steve, you've been struggling because that's a very large group of people. Everyone wants to do something in education, and I appreciate that, but I think your practical approach is very good. And so that's a great first step. And I did want to ask one more question, which is a little bit self-serving, but there was an idea at some point that we would just mesh the America 250 themes into what we call the Red, White, and Blue Schools program, which has been ongoing for a number of years. And so I hope that's also part of the plan.
Well, there's 3 people that are directly involved in red, white, and blue, and I think we can make that happen.
And I was thinking like the resources that you're developing, we should definitely have on Red, White, and Blue Schools and vice versa, because we have a page that Sally's team has been putting together, so.
Yeah, I love the idea of taking an existing program, which for everyone's edification is a school recognition program that we created some years ago that recognizes an entire school rather than a child or a teacher for activities around a certain theme. And every year there's a different, and this is the perfect theme for the next 2 years. And again, I think we could go out and seek funding for something like the Red, White, and Blue Schools as a specific program. I think it would be very well received by a number of organizations that I can think of right offhand. So, okay, so the timeline for the 3 things you're describing is probably this fall.
Right, correct.
Right.
Well, we want the one pager to go out when teachers come back to school in a month.
Right, okay, great.
That's the first priority. right?
Okay, all right. So we will
Cindy, can I
start
throw a
setting up some
curveball
meetings.
into this conversation?
We
quick
have
curveball.
about a minute left for this conversation and then a couple quick updates before we go to public comment.
So curveball.
As long as it's a quick one.
I wanted to suggest that if the commission was okay, if we accept from the National Commission, the $10,000, that we use the funding. We use that funding to support awards programs for red, white, and blue schools types initiatives for field trips across Connecticut. To that effect.
Could I ask just, Jason, there was some opposition to this before. Why was that? Just
The opposition had more to do with the operations of the National Commission and their seeming lack of focus and attention to statewide initiatives. Our recent visit in DC last week with the National Commission and the convening suggests they've made substantive changes to their engagement and programming around the 250th. I don't know if that puts everybody on the spot right now, but you know, the next chance we'll have to talk about this would be next meeting, October. Yeah.
And I'm remembering, was there some issue around accepting their logo? Has that all changed?
That has changed. They are no longer requiring acceptance of their logo. They've reduced a lot of the, there were a lot of like trademark questions, copyright questions, and they've taken a lot of that out of there. This is really just, there are now two different agreements, a partnership agreement to work together, the National Commission with the State Commission, and then the accepting the logo, which we wouldn't be doing at this point, because I think our logo is in line with our state logo, and that's where we all feel comfortable leaving it. So this would reduce the burden on us tremendously in terms of working with them.
Yeah.
I have no feelings about whether we should work with them or not. I would leave that to you guys if you feel like it's the right thing to do. But I don't think $10,000 is zero money. So if I would not start a field trip support program with $10,000, you're talking maybe 4 schools, and that would, it's not enough.
But that's the point. It's 4 schools or whatever it is, you know, but it's something.
I think it's
more
probably
than we can offer now.
But it's only a one-time, I don't know.
I'm
not sure it's worth it. I think the idea is great, but I'm not sure that this is the best use of those money.
Fair enough.
And I would have to agree with Liz, having run many of these kinds of programs in the past. Field trips are a kind of a one-shot thing. I don't mind the idea of using it for some portion of the red, white, and blue school recognition program. If you think that's worthy, those of you who are doing that program, Liz is right. $10,000 is very little money to do much with, honestly. But it might be worth doing something like that.
Yeah, I would totally support giving it to the education group and let Steve figure out how he can use it to accomplish his mission, because he's got a big mission.
Right. What do you think? Would that make
I think
sense?
that makes sense, even if it were used as stipends for teach it units that would go along with what the education committee is doing. I think that would be a good way to get teachers involved by doing the teaching units and then getting the word out.
That's a good idea. I like that too. Yeah. Because that way we'd get some input from teachers and get them to be writing the materials for you. That's always a great thing. We do have that unit that was written on elections, which might be useful at some point, and that's what we did with a very little amount of money. So. All right, well, I'd be willing to entertain a motion to go forward with the $10,000 request to the National Commission. So do I have a motion from anyone?
So moved.
Okay, seconded? Seconded, somebody did over there, okay. All in favor of going forward with a request to the National Commission to accept, I guess it's a request to accept the $10,000 amount of award for the State Commission to use for educational purposes for the Education Subcommittee. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? No one? Okay. We will then go forward. So the motion passes and we'll go forward with making an application. I guess we have to apply to them for this dollars based on the change in the conditions of accepting the grant. Yeah. Okay.
We'll take care of that.
All right.
So very quickly, I will update folks on the work plan that we presented at the last meeting. I would like you all to know that we have the calendar of events up and running, as you've seen, and have the events coming in through there. We have revamped the communication schedule. We're sending out a monthly newsletter to folks. We've got about 450 people on our mailing list and are seeing that expand every day. Our social media presence is also picking up on Facebook and Instagram. We're working with ConnecticutHistory.org to get some more history-based posts up and are looking to do the same with some more civics-based work. And you'll see us continuing to pick up on there. We had a great call last week with about 30 different municipalities around the state, and they have their local commissions up and running. We are really excited with how excited they all are. Last week was a great week and feeling like the work that we do makes a difference. We've presented to most of the councils of governments and are continuing to see more and more places come in with a local commission. So even if they haven't sent us a contact, a lot of them are receptive to the idea of America 250 and are having conversations internally. There were brand guidelines that were attached to the agenda that was sent out, and we will be using these along with that affiliate proposal to kind of start sharing out the 250th logo with folks. And those are the big things in terms of what we've accomplished in the last 3 months. I want to give a lot of credit to Rachel. Without her, we would not have gotten so much done. So we are really excited to have her on board. And then just quickly, some of the things that you'll see coming out in the rest of this year. We'll continue to expand on the local commissions. We'll launch that affiliate program based on the feedback today. We'll continue to improve our ability to gather and promote events and raise awareness. I know one of the big things we're being asked for from the local commissions are 1, questions on funding, which we continue to work on, and 2, questions on just marketing America 250 for them so that when they're going to have conversations, people have heard about it already. We'll be launching Museum Makeover, which is a program in partnership with Conservation Connection out of the Connecticut State Library. And we'll be bringing back some more projects that are 250th based to create small exhibitions, partnering together experienced curators with smaller historical societies. And then in 2025, Andy Horowitz, our state historian, is working on beginning to frame out an exhibition for kind of the statewide role in the American Revolution. So not for today, but we will have some more updates on that at future meetings. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to email me because we are running behind and I want to make sure to leave space for public comment.
Yep. All right, great.
Cindy.
Thank you, Cindy and Rachel. Nice to have you. Sorry, I should have introduced you to begin with. You've all heard from Rachel. This is Rachel Gonzalez that you've been hearing from. She is the newest member of our team, so. Okay, we are now to public comment. Do we have anyone from the public who wishes to address the commission? Anybody? Okay, let's see, how are we going to do this?
Sylvester.
Oh, yes, Sylvester.
Good morning, everybody, and for those listening over the internet. My name is Sylvester Salcido from Orange, the great farming town of Orange, next door to New Haven. I just would like to echo what our co-chair Denise Merrill said. I was at that event at the Beinecke Museum at Yale a week ago, or back in July 5th. And I wanted to just mention that I absolutely envy your ability to bring your grandchildren to that event because I, as a parent, failed to bring my 11-year-old and 14-year-old who rather play their video games. But ever since I showed them the picture of the wonderful catering that the Anarchy Museum prepared, they said, I wish we went with you. But nonetheless, I did bring them back the materials, and they're now very much excited. And I think they're beginning to be engaged with their friends, which brings me up to the whole connection. I just figured out here, I just Googled, who are these Gen Zs and Gen Xs? I guess I fall under the boomer category for some reason. But anyway, I just want to say thank you again to all of you on the commission and the staffs. Really, the work that you do inspires me as a parent in the community, and I hope to be continue to be involved. Thank you all.
Thank you, Sylvester. Yeah. Anyone else?
No, thank you.
No? Anyone else? Okay.
Thank you all for being here.
Yeah. Yes.
Could we ask people to introduce themselves? Would that be okay? Just to hear where you're coming from?
Wow. Yeah, you're supposed to. Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt. So, okay, I needed to, you're a member of the commission, basically. Kathy, I have to tell, this is the governor's designee to the commission. Kathy works in the governor's office and has for many years.
Okay.
We don't let that. Well, so anyway. Age me a little bit. Anyway, she's really the person that pulls things together in the governor's office and has for a long time. And so thank you for being with that. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
I'm Tanya Court. I'm curator at the Lyman Allen Art Museum, and I know our instructor Sam Quigley. I think was invited to come and couldn't, so I'm here and planning ahead for an exhibition that will sort of loosely envisioned of kind of New London County history and the revolution. That would be, for sort of early spring of 2026, and eager to, talk to other museum colleagues and think about objects, to possibly include in that, collaborate. And I know, it's all coming up fast.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Claudine. I'm from Putnam Elms in Brooklyn. I'm the new coordinator. And actually this position is completely new to me. So I've been attending things like these meetings, webinars, to get like ideas, just information on things I can like move forward and put Putnam Elms like on the map to get more recognized as like people in the small town of Brooklyn, if even know it exists. So yeah.
Good, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Oh, geez, of course.
Mayor, I am the outreach and impact coordinator for the Cultural Coalition.
Oh, great. Nice to see you. We've heard from Sylvester. Anyone else?
Linda Christensen, I'm with the Preston Historical Society right next door, so you were easy to get to, and I've been following what you've been sending out, so thank you. Learned a lot today, got all kinds of resources to get to.
Good, wonderful, thank you.
Deb Mathiasen, Assistant Director with the Cultural Coalition, and we serve Northeastern and Southeastern Connecticut as an arts and culture and history support organization. So just here listening to what you have coming down the pike for resources that we can help distribute and push out. And we're also interested in supporting municipalities in this work. So I was especially interested in the local commission pathway and getting word out to the COG members about creating the local commission. So I'll be following up with Cynthia later.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that too. From the beginning, I've thought, I'm hoping this will be a really local celebration, that every town will do something. That would be a real success from my point of view for this commission. So, and they're really, everywhere I've been, mayors and people I know are saying, oh, we're so excited about this, and we're gonna do this in Wilton. I talked to somebody from Easton, and so it really is starting to spread down to the town level, and that's very exciting.
Yes, the one pagers like you're doing for the teachers is going to be helpful, but I think a general public one pager is gonna be
That's a great.
helpful too.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I'm struggling with, you know, how much to pull out of your communications on the specific focus that I should be sharing. So
Okay.
that would be,
That's good feedback.
be great for the fall to kick off just publicly.
Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Before we adjourn, I'd like to share that we had at one point over 30 people online watching our meeting. So I will be sending the link out to all of the commissioners because there's lots of comments in here from the public. So I'll be sharing that for you to take a look at.
Okay, that brings us to the end of the meeting, unless we have any further new business or comments. It's been a good meeting, good discussion. So our next meeting will be Wednesday, October 16th, 2024 at 10 a.m. And we'll be in touch. Okay, so the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
12:01, not too late.
I'm sorry, what's the location of the next meeting?
We don't have it yet, but we will announce it. It will likely be somewhere in Western Connecticut. And we'll flip flop around the state as we move forward.